Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4, Episode 7 deals with our devils. Now, the show, it's been off for, I want to say it was 2 weeks. The show was off for 2 weeks, and I think this is an awesome episode to come back on. I mean, it starts off, I think we were all kind of curious how things were going to play out. I figured, the guys kind of disappeared. I figured that that's how that was going to happen. And, they come back to it. That's exactly how it plays out. So we have Coulson, Fitz, and Robbie. The three of them are basically turned into, the ghostly figures. But even worse, they can't even communicate with anybody. They're trapped. And they're sinking, even. They're, sinking, and I guess just sinking into hell, really. As it's kind of how they seem to explain it as the episode goes on. So it starts off, we have the team, kind of in our reality. They're going through, it's there's no Coulson, there's no Fitz, we can't find Robbie either. Eli, he's now able to, just make matter out of nothingness. So he has that little spike, and then, the guards kind of catch him. So he drops it, and I'm guessing what happened there is that because it shattered, it became tiny molecules that he was able to, basically he could tell where every single molecule was, and he just kind of, made the spikes grow after the guys inhaled them or something, or he, they were just in the air in general, and boom, he just had them expand, or he could just pick any molecule and just turn it into carbon and kill the guys. So that was a cool little scene. He kills them off, he seals up the wall behind him, and he's gone after that. He's gone for the rest of the episode. We don't see him again, except for the other side of that with Robbie, where he sees it from his dimension. And he's trying to, warn the guys, and he's like, nobody can see me. And he was even, when he first saw his uncle, he was like, I heard some stories and stuff about what happened. And he throws the punch, and that's when he realizes, that something's wrong. So we have our characters, both sides of the team, they're all kind of split up. It's how in the world are we going to save, our teammates? And also, how are we going to catch Eli? Then, of course, we have, Coulson, Fitz, and Robbie, where it's how the heck are we going to survive this? Because we're, falling deeper and deeper. And for Robbie, it got super serious, super fast, because he even started off and was I don't really feel great, I feel funny. And then he started to get really, really sick because Ghost Rider, itself was I'm getting that out of here. I don't want to go back to hell. So Ghost Rider jumps onto Mack, and I love that. I thought that was really awesome, and I like the way they did the story for this episode, because that was a cool little mystery at first, because I was wow, that's not something you normally see from Mack. Mack never goes off script. He doesn't do his own thing, except for kind of to save his friends, but not for revenge purposes. He never really does that. So I was really surprised. I was holy crap, Mack was going off script. He was dressed like Terminator. He had the leather jacket, and he was on the motorcycle. Then it made a lot more sense. Oh, okay, he was in Ghost Rider mode. So of course, they gave him the jacket and the motorcycle. But I love that. I was okay, that makes sense. And then we have Robbie splitting up, because after they realized, after he's oh, Ghost Rider left me and jumped into Mack, he's this might be my only opportunity. I have to. Basically, I have to split up from you guys, and I have to go with Daisy. So he hops in the car as Daisy takes his car and chases after Mack. And so Coulson and Fitz are still trapped inside, and it's just a disaster for the most part. It's they're just stuck trying to figure out what in the world's going to happen. We find out, Fitz finds out what's going on with Mace, where he's I know, I heard you on the phone, and him talking to that senator. And we find out that that's where Jim was actually taken. She was taken to the facility because of the senator that's blackmailing the director right now. So it was alright, she got sent there, and her mission was to basically break this woman's brother out. If I remember right, that was her brother. And so, Jim's mission is to break him out and figure out how in the world do we get this guy out of his, his crystallization right now. And I love the way they did it. She figured out how to do it because she's a genius. So she's able to get him out. And, they break the faceplate off and stuff like that. And he's thank you for helping me. We still don't know what his abilities are going to be. And he looked normal from what we saw. They only showed us that one part of his face, so you never really know. But typically when people change, it's not a half and half thing. But also, it's the Inhumans. It could be literally anything. So you never know. But as far as what we saw, he seemed like he was completely normal. He's just gonna, he's gonna keep his physical features. He'll just have, he'll have an ability at some point. but they break him out, and then it's like, all right, thanks, and they throw the bag over her head and they take her out of there. So the senator woman who hates Inhumans, it's really weird how they're doing her story right now, but she hates Inhumans, but she did that to her brother, or maybe he did it to himself. We technically don't know, but I'm just assuming she did it to her brother, but just because of her being evil. So we have to see where that goes. I don't know if she's gonna try to control him or something like that. It's like, hey, I have we're family and stuff. You have to trust me. So that's her secret weapon in case anything goes wrong. So that's still up in the air. It's like he broke out, so that's of course something we're gonna have to wait for. I assume that won't really have a big part in the story until the show comes back next year. But it was still exciting. I was like, all right, because they kind of after. I mean, I don't even remember when that happened. I feel like that was like maybe the third or fourth episode or something like that. So it's been a while since they actually even showed her like leave the house and it's just a random dude stuck in Terra Genesis. So it's been a while since they even kind of went back to that storyline. It's like, all right, it's been a while since we've seen it, and boom, Gemma figures it out. The guy breaks out at least a little bit. So the next time we see him, he'll have his abilities and stuff like that, and we'll just have to see what role he's meant to play based on what his sister wants to do with him. So I am excited to see how that plays out. But ultimately Gemma's safe, because I was wondering how that was going to work, if it was actually going to be a little dangerous or whatever. But it ends up being fine. They just freak her out by just throwing the bag over her head, but she ends up just going back to S.H.I.E.L.D. and so Fitz and Simmons do end up reuniting. But the way they did everything, kind of in between those moments, the serious moments, like with Fitz, him freaking out, like, who knows where the F she is, because he's in cahoots with this senator that hates Inhumans, and, why would he be, with him being an Inhuman and all that stuff. So there's a lot going on there, the emotional side of things. Coulson was freaking out because, he was kind of there with May, with her freaking out, and she's like, I've got to go through all these different situations and stuff, and she considered going through the book, and she wanted, she definitely wanted to, but she's like, all right, well, I know I won't be able to do it, so I'll go to someone else. And eventually, of course, that does lead to Ada doing it, and that revelation to quite a few characters, like, yeah, she's actually a robot, so, or an android, which she might not be for too much longer, because now that she's had, gotten the taste of the book, and she's able to make the portal and stuff, we get that little ending scene, and she's making a brain for herself, and she's like, putting the pieces together, and then when it finishes, it kind of shows that the brain's like firing up, and it shows like the synapses and stuff going off. And I was like, that's actually pretty cool. So she's making this brain. I don't know how it's gonna work, how she's gonna operate that as far as her components, in her head, like what important components did he put in her head. So I don't know how she'll be able to utilize that, like replace what's in her head to, basically give herself an actual brain. But that was super exciting, and who knows if that means she'll still be really good, or if that means they'll do, the typical sort of Ghost in the Machine type thing where she's alive now and she's able to make her own decisions, plus the insane processing power, of an android. So I'm excited for that. I don't know if they are going to do the villain route. Some people think that, they might kind of do like a pseudo-Ultron thing with her, and it would actually be closer to Ultron because, she starts off as good and then builds up to her being evil. It would actually make a lot of sense, but I kind of hope they don't go that route, just because it would just kind of be a retread of the Ultron story, although probably done a little bit cooler because it's on a more spread out, storyline, instead of just here's how this started and ended in like 90 minutes. But I don't know. I'm excited for it. I thought that was really cool. The other thing we have, of course, is Robbie and Mack teaming up at the end, which I thought was sweet, because Robbie, he makes one hell of a deal with the Ghost Rider in order to basically save his own life, from being dragged down to hell. And he's like, if you help me settle this final score, I'll help you settle yours. So I don't know, because there's been speculation and stuff like, will Ghost Rider get his own show and things like that? Would they do the Netflix thing for him? But with them doing that, he kind of has to have something big coming. Like, I don't know what it's going to be, but you can't make a deal like that and be like, hey, you help me settle my score and I'll help you settle all of yours. You don't have a character say something like that to Ghost Rider and then be like, yep, he's just off doing this thing. Like, we need to see that. Like, I personally, I really want to see that once he either leaves the show or whatever. And they make it seem like in the fall finale that's what's going to happen, is that he's going to be gone. So I'm hoping that's not the case, because they make it seem, I think it even says it's like, Ghost Rider's like final stand and stuff, and I'm like, I hope that's not really the case. I hope he doesn't actually end up dying. So I hope that they keep him on there. That would really suck if they killed him off. I hope they, if they do get rid of him, at least just do it where he decides to leave and he's still Ghost Rider. I'd prefer to see it, like I said, but if I had to choose, I'm like, at least let him live so he can come back, in the future, and don't just like kill him off. So hopefully he does end up surviving whatever this, crazy mess is going to end up being in the next episode. But this was really good. This is a great episode to come back on. I like the way they did the storyline where it's split between the dimensions and we get to see scenes in two different ways. I always kind of like that type of stuff where you see it from different angles. But, they have the normal scene and then the alternate dimension scene where you still have everybody talking and they go through the same dialogue and you can still kind of hear them in the volume. They're mostly muted, but you can still hear them in the background just a little bit. You can hear them go through the lines. And I thought that was kind of cool. And it's like, all right, they're going through. And sometimes, Fitz, Coulson, and Robbie would pause to listen to what everybody was saying. And other times it would be like, all right, that's useless dialogue for them. So they have their own conversations on top of the other dialogue. And I was like, that's actually really cool. I like how they're playing that. Like I said, just them going through the scenes twice and stuff like that I thought was really cool. And we get to see additional scenes like the scene with Robbie when he was in the car with Daisy, and she scratches up the car and stuff like that. And when she stops the car, we don't get that scene from her side where she's at the it's not really a fork in the road, but she has to go either left or right. But we get that scene after they go through it again, and we get it from Robbie's perspective. And he hits the car, and it ends up, the left blinker turns on. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. We get to see. It's not even a rehash. Well, technically, it's a rehash of the scene, but it's from a different perspective, and we get either jokes from it or serious stuff. Like in his case, it was funny when she scratched the car up. And he was just freaking out like, oh no. And she's like, it's, the self-healing car. And he's like, it only works when I'm the writer. Stuff like that. So we had, comedic moments, but we also had serious stuff too. The Mack moment was really cool, the revelations. The ending scene with Mack, where we realized that he either had a wife or a daughter, and one or the other for sure. Somebody died that he knew. It could be, a sister as well, but I don't think that's the case because we met his brother. I feel like that would have been mentioned a long time ago, just in some way, considering how serious things were with when his brother showed up before. I feel like they would have mentioned something if it was just, if it was like, oh, we had a sister, we already lost a sister or whatever. I feel like that would have come up. So I think this is probably going to be either a wife or a child. It's got to be one of the two. And I don't know, like we don't know anything about Max, so that's why I'm like, I don't know. It seems like it would be a wife because you would think if he lost a child, something like that would come up. But at the same time, why bring it up? Like, that's such a traumatic thing to go through. Why bother bringing something like that up with, your friends? Because it's simple. It's like, oh, he lost hope, and it's just like all the things he's gone through. It makes sense that he would lose hope, but hope is an actual person. So I like the way they did that. I was like, all right, that was pretty cool, because it just seemed like he lost hope just in general, but hope is an actual person. So I love that. And it even had a date on it and everything, so I expect we'll be getting a flashback. If not in the next episode, then somewhere in the second half of the season, we'll be getting a flashback to that date, which I believe was, I want to say April 18th, like 2006, or something like that. So, I'm sure we'll be getting a flashback, like I said, but I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, alright, that's a new layer to Mack that we've never known about, never even really considered his life before S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, he never talks about it, no one ever talks about it with him. Outside of the stuff with his brother, him like fixing up cars and things like that, there's really not much to Mack that isn't, 100% S.H.I.E.L.D. So I'm actually excited to see them explore his backstory, his time before S.H.I.E.L.D. And I'm assuming whatever this was is how he got into S.H.I.E.L.D. to begin with. Like, that, him losing hope, whoever she may have been, whether it was, wife or daughter, that's probably what led him, to become a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. And maybe that's a part of why he, because he was a huge advocate, like, against aliens and all that stuff. He was, like, way against Inhumans from the very beginning. That was always his thing. Like, no aliens, no this, no that, just humans. And that was always his thing. So maybe that's how that started. Maybe, his wife or daughter was killed by just some alien creature. It could have been, who knows, during the Avengers. They might, kind of pull that thing where they died during the incident, as everyone calls it in like the Netflix shows. So who knows exactly how they're going to play it, but I am excited to see it. Can't wait for this finale, but of course, definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below, let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and there's quite a bit that they kind of dropped in this one leading into the fall finale, but I want to know what you guys think of the revelation about Mack's, well, the pseudo-revelation, I guess, about Mack's backstory, and I definitely want to know, where do you guys think Ada is headed as a character? Is she going to become, part villain? Is she going to be good even though she has a brain? How do you guys think they're going to mess around with that idea? And I also want to know where you guys think they're taking Ghost Rider. If this really is going to be his last episode in the fall finale. Is he going to die? Is he just going to get rid of Ghost Rider, but we still have, Robbie Reyes as a character? So I want to know your theories on that, and of course what you guys thought about the episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.